Hey guys, it's Mark here, and in this video I want to have a look at Luna. Did it cause Bitcoin to drop even lower than it otherwise would have? Because the market's definitely affected the price of Bitcoin. We've seen that Bitcoin has obviously dropped even below what is often an area where it can hold support around the white line here. Takes a black swan event, this was COVID-19 coming, for it to drop below, but generally on our logarithmic regression graph that I've got here, it generally holds support at the white line, in and around the white line during the bearish periods. Here we've dropped below. How long will we stay below? Do we go all the way to the 200-week moving average? You know, that remains to be seen. Often if we do hit the 200-week, it's because it's going through the white line here on this regression graph, but it is not up to that point yet. So there's always the possibility it can go down further, but what will it, won't it, remains to be seen at this moment. You know, there's a good chance that this might bounce up, and I wanted to have a look at did Luna cause this issue? Because look at what's happened here. I mean, you're talking about a coin that's was number 5 on all of crypto. It might have even been number 4, and it's dropped down to number 20 in the space of 3 days. In fact, if you go back a few weeks, even in the course of a month, it's gone from $116 down to $14. So what's the story? What's happened here? Well, certainly this has caused additional panic from those crypto holders that hold Bitcoin, because people are well aware that the Luna Foundation Guard owns a lot of Bitcoin and has to sell some of it, or at least loan it out, in order to get the price stability sorted out. So why did that mechanism not work? Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. The reason why it didn't work, though, in short, is because it hasn't been set up yet to happen automatically. So I believe that there was probably an attack on the market. Now, how does Terra stablecoin work? First of all, UST, not to be mistaken for USDT, this is UST, the third largest stablecoin on crypto, at least at that time. It's an algorithmic stablecoin, meaning it's not backed by real dollars and real assets like, say, USDC is and USDT. So in the case of Terra's stablecoin, if its price falls below $1, traders are incentivized to swap units of UST for Luna, which removes the former from the circulation, and software programs are triggered that does this as well. So if the price rallies above $1, the mechanism applies in reverse. It'll remove Luna tokens, like it'll burn them out of circulation to create new units of UST. And traders that seek to profit from arbitrage opportunities regularly swap UST for Luna and vice versa, and do very well, especially if they're using automated trading bots, and it ensures the price stays at or close to $1. So this is how the mechanics work. And another contributor is that Anchor Protocol is a decentralized lending platform on Luna, and they pay extra interest. Like they pay almost 20% on people that deposit UST, which meant that there's a significant amount of demand for UST as well. So all of that was all part of the tokenomics. Now, to add to this tokenomics, they were going to make it so that it doesn't just have to burn Luna to keep the peg. It would also do it with billions of dollars of Bitcoin, hundreds of millions of Avalanche, and so forth. And they're looking at other coins as well. However, that was not in place at the time. Okay, so here's what happened. So before any of the panic, the Luna Foundation Guard had removed on Saturday approximately $250 million from the UST3 pool on Curve, and they'd done this in 2 transactions. So they were going to launch it as, change it to a 4 pool with an additional coin in there. But following this is where we think that this was an actual coordinated attack. Like a seller swapped $85 million of UST for USDC on Curve, and pushed the UST T3 pool, which held UST, USDC, and USDT, and the DAI stable coins all out of balance. So the seller had dumped UST at a pace that exceeded the demand for the margin for the arbitrages. So it created a positive feedback loop that brought the price of UST down to 98 cents, which is already panic stations when a coin is supposed to be at $1. You know, give or take 0.0001% or 0.005% or something, you know, but this is too much already at 98 cents. So the Luna Foundation Guard, it then loaned $1.5 billion from the reserve to traders tasked to restore the peg, and they almost succeeded in bringing UST back to $1. It was looking good, but when traditional markets opened Monday and continued the sell-off, the original short seller continued then their market swaps on Curve, knowing that few buyers would step in to save Luna and save UST right there and then. So what we saw was they took advantage of the fact that the market, like Bitcoin and all of the other, the stock markets and everything was down, and they went ahead and did a coordinated attack. This is because they have enough money to be able to do it. And I believe that they were probably doing it while they were shorting, perhaps, this is a guess, I could be wrong, perhaps shorting Luna or even other coins for all I know. Like, so basically they're really testing Luna, bringing it right down, but also they might have profited from that movement down at the same time as the fact that they got all their UST out at between $1 and 98 cents, so they didn't lose much, but other people did if they sold. Now, this isn't UST, this is Luna's price. So if we look at what UST's price is doing, as you can see, it went down as low as 62 cents. We're now up at 83 cents. We're not back to establishing the peg, but so much trust has left Luna that I believe that it's going to be tough to get to $1. I think that they're going to have to play this out over a slow period to get it there. It might take a week. It might take longer. I don't know. But the problem is, the closer they get to $1, the more people want to cash out and sell all their UST because they go, that's close enough, and they want out. So we're going to probably see those that are buying Luna on the dip maybe in for a bit of pain at the moment, because it may drop a lot further if Luna does what it needs to do, which is get the peg back. Eventually there may be a point where it reaches a bottom, and then Luna's going to be a great buy for the bounce. But long term, it could take quite a while for that trust to come back in UST. So it could be, you know, obviously fortune favors the brave. Sometimes buying when everybody else is panicking can turn out to be a really good thing. I'm just not convinced yet that we're not at the bottom for Luna itself, because even if this slowly moves its way back up, there's going to be somebody with a lot that's going to sell a lot, it's going to move down and up, and then that's going to cause shakiness within Luna and so forth. So I think that that'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. This is not financial advice, not telling you whether or not to buy Luna. I'm just saying that there's quite a big possibility that that whole event that's been happening has been a big part of why Bitcoin even fell further, because of the billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin that Luna has had to loan, whether or not they sold it. People think that they did. So, and I know that they probably didn't sell that much of it in the end, but because people think they did, people panic and they sell their Bitcoin thinking, oh, Bitcoin's going to go down. If Luna keeps selling all their Bitcoin, I better get out now, maybe buy back in if it gets lower. That's just how people are thinking. They're panicking at the moment. And combine that with the stock market and everything else being down, interest rates going up, it's not a time where people are getting super excited about buying Bitcoin right at this moment. And I'm not saying that it's not going to go up. I'm just saying, and it might bounce. We may end up having a big rally up following here. But at the moment, there isn't that stability because of those various factors that have happened right now. I'm dollar cost averaging my way in, buying the dips, the bigger dips, and So for me, regardless of the reasons for the drop, it was a good opportunity to buy a little more. But for some people, if you've already accumulated a bit at 32k, you don't really have to accumulate at 30k. You could be waiting for a bigger dip, you know. Otherwise, just wait it out. Like I think that you can't accumulate on every single dip. Otherwise, you never you run out of money. So you make more from accumulating the larger dips, and then you just got to play a little bit of patience game in between there. So you dollar cost average your way if it's going to go down, so that you reduce your average buy-in price. But on the way, you know, you're not going to be necessarily buying every little 1% dip, or you know, you get wrecked if that possibility happens that we end up at 22k, 20k. Could happen if you know, another black swanny type event happens, like the Luna one. Arguable if you call that a black swan event, but certainly it was a big event in crypto. If something like that happened to another major project, combine that with at the same time as, say, the Fed raising interest rates by another 50 basis points or something, it could cause a final capitulation down to here. Then again, you know, never be deterministic about these things, because these things don't always play out exactly as technical analysis might indicate. They don't always play out exactly as everyone's predicting. Otherwise, well, this would be a whole lot easier, and no one would be buying in between times, because we'd just all know what was going to happen. We don't know, and that's why we dollar cost average. But we got to be mindful of the things that could happen, and then if you see it start to happen, then you can act accordingly. So I have seen that there are a lot of institutions that are accumulating Bitcoin, while there are more that are going risk off. Some are going risk on. Certainly some were not prepared to immediately go and buy, so hence you flash down to there, and then moment people get their money together and so forth, bang, the price is already moving up a little bit. And I know that there's a lot of different scenarios that could play out. You could say that we're very low on the RSI here. Last time we were around these levels, it was COVID. So without it being a black swan event like COVID, normally this would be about the bottom of the RSI for Bitcoin, somewhere between 30 to 35, certainly. And we're at 30 on the weekly RSI. So really there's a lot of reasons to think we could be getting oversold, at least for the shorter term. There could be a bounce, you know. It's a dangerous time to be shorting the market. You've got to be very careful. It's a better time to short when you just had this bounce up to here, or starting from up here. I did short the market for a while when we went to here, that point there to that point there. That was my short, but then after that I was back to just long, because I wasn't sure if we would bounce down again or not. I don't really like shorting because you can really get wrecked, but it seemed to be reasonably like a better bet at that point. So anyway, sorry I'm going off topic a little bit here. That's it for this video. We're looking all about the Luna stuff. In terms of the altcoins, like a lot of you guys are into DeFi Kingdoms as an example, one of the main altcoins that I'm in. We actually done pretty well in the last 24 hours. It's actually gone up a tiny smidgen. So we're actually up in the last 24 hours. Sorry, that's not the whole 24 hours. It's probably from there to there. We're up a little smidgen as opposed to, say, the rest of the market, which is mostly down. So that's reasonably good. Good news at the moment. But obviously, if Bitcoin went further down, we may test $1. But then again, for those people that are waiting for $1, we may never see that. So you want to have at least a position to reduce your average buy-in if your average buy-in is already higher. Just something to bear in mind. We could be making a little double bottom here and coming back up to $1.40 and above. If we can push through this downtrend line there, then things are starting to already look a lot more bullish for Joule. What I would like to see for Joule, by the way, is I would like to see it gain a higher position relative to other GameFi projects in the long run. So if the price is to fall, let's say the price fell and the bottom's 78 cents, that's not so bad if 3 months from now DeFi Kingdoms is ahead of, say, other projects that it's competing with, like Mobox, for instance, which, or other, similar type projects, or it's gaining ground on, say, Gala Games, or one of the other projects that has a kind of like a gamified crypto tokenomics. If it can gain ground on some of those, then that's also bullish news. And I do believe, looking at the ones that are ahead of it on the market cap, which there are, I think, 15 ahead of it. Okay, look, yep, there's 15 ahead of it on market cap. Look, Jewel up 2.6%. I guess that's in line with all of GameFi. Seems to be doing all right here during this particular period. But I would like to see, over the next 6 months, DeFi Kingdoms, relative to the other projects, make some moves further up. I believe that it should, because the tokenomics and the plans and so forth, and even what they have already developed, is far ahead of several of the other projects in here. And some of them, I do believe, are perhaps propped up a little bit by VC money, perhaps having superior marketing may have helped, but it's only going to go so far. Like take Mobox, for instance. It's kind of like DeFi Kingdoms, but it's well, my opinion, okay, this is not financial advice, it seems to have worse tokenomics. The gameplay, everything else it just seems to be a worse version of DeFi Kingdoms, and it's got less less stuff going for it in terms of, like, it doesn't have its own subnet burn token, tokens getting burned in the same way. There's just the plans for the future, I guess, are also not as good. It's propped up by the fact that it's on Binance exchange, so it's already on a major exchange. It's already on a major exchange, and yet it's not further up, given than some of these other coins. That's kind of interesting to me. But that's only one of them, and several of these are already on major exchanges, like Vulcan Forged, which still has got a lot less development in terms of completion and ready than DeFi Kingdoms, and yet it's on, and yet it's on major exchanges, several of them, and yet it's only like 1.4 times the market cap. Like, I would like to see 6 months from now, if DeFi Kingdoms is going where you think it should be going, it should be ahead of those sort of projects, or at the very least, if it's not ahead of, say, Vulcan Forge, then Vulcan Forge should be moving up also, and some of the not so good tokens should be, they could be ahead in terms of where they are today, but relative to DeFi Kingdoms, if you're looking at that from a point of view of what's another thing you could look at, if the price isn't going up, then you want to at least look that its relative position is moving up. That's something that I think is probably going to happen, and I'll be looking for that over the next six months. And if the price is going up of all of these coins, then that's fantastic. And being lower market cap means that it's a much easier one to multiply in price, higher than some of the other ones, at least for now. So anyway, that's it for this particular video. Talked a lot about Luna. I gave you a quick update also on the DeFi Kingdoms stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, everybody.